Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Happy Friday, Mike.
Happy Friday, Phil. Good to be with you guys out there in Listenerville. Good to be back here in Baja. I want to mention very quickly here at the top of the show that I just flew back. I had to go to San Diego for business. I was actually only out of Mexico for I don't know what it amounted to be, 16 hours. But I got to tell you, this is a question for you guys living north of the border. How the hell afford the prices of stuff nowadays? I had some culture shock in San Diego. So here's a couple. I'm just going to give you my three things that run down on San Diego. I get off the plane. 3 out of 4 cars that are on the road, or Uber for that matter, are Teslas. California doesn't live in what I would consider to be reality. And I don't know what you thought about that. I had this business meeting. Anyways, the long and short of it is $14 beers I had a $14 beer at a brewery, and normally breweries have cheaper beer, right? Because they're making their own. They're making their own ingredients and everything. And then we ordered wings, 12 wings, a dozen wings, $36. And to tell you, I had culture shock coming out of Mexico. I mean, holy hell! Wow.
It didn't help that you went to one of the most expensive cities in the entire United States. 3 of the most expensive cities in the United States are all in California.
Oh, for sure. But here's the irony about San Diego, right? If you know anything about San Diego is not exactly a financially... I wouldn't call San Diego a financially wealthy town, meaning if I compared it to say Chicago has financial stuff, and New York City obviously has Wall Street, has a lot of financial, lot of investment, a lot of banks, things like that. San Diego, half of San Diego is a military base. I mean, think about it that way. So San Diego, and a lot of border patrol, a lot of customs people. There's a lot of it's not really a financially wealthy hub per se. So when you think about it, when you look at it from that perspective, I don't know how a lot of people, particularly the ones that been in San Diego for a long time, I don't know how the hell they can afford to live there.
Well, you have a lot of retired people. 2,
yes, the weather is obviously perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you also have a lot of people, if they live actually in the city, they probably own a business in the city.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
But the regular Joe Smo, he may work in San Diego, but he don't live in San Diego.
Yeah.
He lives in something hills.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's kind of funny because everything's got the hills on the end of it.
Right, or valley.
Yeah, or valley. Oh, boy. Anyway.
Not just valley.
Yeah, I just want to mention that because, I mean, talk about culture shock. I mean, oh, my word. I just couldn't believe it. Anyways, okay. I want to briefly turn this podcast into something serious and a little sad.
Oh boy!
We had big news in the Overland community this week. I know a lot of people that follow off-road and overlanding and van life probably followed a channel called Toyota World Runners. And for those of you that are not familiar with that, they had a significant following, probably several 100,000 on YouTube. I don't know how many on Instagram and other social medias, but had quite a gathering. And they were actually unique. Matt and I'm spacing on Stacey. I actually, funny enough, met them, and I don't know them. I'm not saying I know them well or anything. I did meet them on their trip through Baja. And I want to say they came to Overland Expo one of the years, but I could be completely wrong on that. But in any case, They passed away this week in an off-road accident in Canada, in British Columbia, actually not that far north of Glacier National Park, so over the border in BC. I've been up in that area, and I'm a little bit familiar with some of the roads and trails where this accident occurred. But they're probably most famous for doing the Pan American Highway in what I think is probably the first and maybe only Toyota Land Cruiser with like a Chinook camper on the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they were famous for. And they actually just completed that. Well, I don't know. I want to say maybe that was a year and a half ago, possibly. And then they did some New Zealand stuff, and they were doing some YouTube in Canada. In any case, there's a fair amount of people that are in our overlanding world either knew them or certainly were inspired by their channel. So super sad news. Unfortunately, I would also be remiss not to mention that when anything negative, and by the way, this went far and wide. So the interesting thing about this is usually when something happens in our little overland world, it's not like super big news. Now, it got spun, and this is what I wanted to talk about briefly. It got spun because of the word influencer, social media influencer, because they had a big enough following to be noticed from YouTube and from various other social media platforms. And we talk about this a lot on our podcast here, that this story got picked up by, I saw it on the BBC, got Fox News, New York Post, everybody picked this story up. And then, of course, what does that generate is the negativity on the other side of, people bad-mouthing influencers and saying that they're the ones that destroy the trails and they're the ones that are taking risks and blah, 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 all this other stuff. In relationship to them, I can tell you what I did know of them because I've watched limited amounts of their channel. That really wasn't their MO. They were super nice people and, pretty down to earth, quite honestly. And to use by the way, to describe them as influencers is a little bit. I struggle with that word again because I get called that. I get called an influencer. What the fuck does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? I saw some negative stuff on. I forget where it was posted on some trail. Probably one of your and my buddies' Instagram things the other day. Something about influencers are what causes all the damage on the trails, and that's why they're all getting shut down. And it's like, well, okay, there's a difference between somebody that inspires, that happens to have a lot of followers, and somebody that's out there for what you and I like to call the bangers, taking a click picture, fast fake Instagram picture in front of a canyon and then saying, I just did that trail. These are not the same kinds of people, right?
I agree, but there's something in between, and there's a lot of people in between what I'm going to describe.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that are called influencers that they actually do a whole lot of stuff, but because they are an influencer, that's how they pay for these trips or whatever, they still have an incentive to create even more content.
Correct.
So, yeah, they made, and I'm not talking about this couple.
Yeah, no, I understand.
There are a lot of influencers out there that are doing a lot of things, but they're bangers too, because they gotta have that content. They may spend I'm not talking about this couple. They may be doing the Pan American Trail, and let's say they don't have enough time in their schedule for Guatemala. They're just going through.
Mm-hmm.
And an influencer, what they'll do is they will in one day film enough stuff to make it look like it was a week there. Or maybe they want some time off. So they create a week of stuff, and they're actually not doing nothing. They're just somewhere laying up. So my knee-jerk reaction is to defend all influencers, but I know too many of them. I know too many backstories, and it is prevalent. Another thing about the trails and stuff like that, I'm on the side of the other people too with that. One of the many reasons why I chose solo travel versus with someone is because one thing is I drive slow. I drive really slow, and most people would be irritated. But here's the thing, I'm driving at an appropriate speed for trails. And I have people pass me all the time on trails, all the time.
Yeah, you and me both.
And they're flying. So since I don't know these people, I won't lump them in on that. But for people to just have a typical stereotype of influencers being that way and accusing them of these things is highly accurate to me.
Well, yeah, because there's two things going on here. They did the Pan American Highway with the old vintage Land Cruiser with a Chinook on the back end of it. If you're familiar with what that looks like, it's a kind of a big, bulky truck. That is not the vehicle in question here that they were involved in an accident in. Okay, so their channel was also known for what I would consider to be aggressive off-roading. There's a big difference between off-roading and overlanding. And from somebody that is familiar with the trails around Trout Lake, where this accident occurred, these are full-on off-road trails, meaning for those of you that are more familiar with, say Colorado, we're talking like Black Bear Pass, Independence Pass, things that are, if you make the wrong move, you're rolling 200 feet down a cliff. I mean, that's just what happens. And as you said, Phil, and obviously I don't know any circumstance about what was going on, but speed, weather, how many people were involved in the trip that day, whether they were filming or not filming. There's a lot that goes into what occurred, and I don't pretend to know anything about it. I don't know.
And another thing, I was leaving it, since you brought it up, I was leaving it open for you to bring it up if you had it on your mind. But one of my other thoughts about this is the people who go out on the trails, the overlanders, the influencers, the off-roaders, all of them, the ones that are out on the trails, I'm a witness to this hundreds and hundreds of times over many years. You'll have people on the edge of a mountain on a trail where if you just barely turn your wheel, you're off the mountain, and they got their 360 camera doing this and doing that, and literally with their knee. I'm describing something I've witnessed before. They're literally driving with their knee and they're hanging out, and literally and they'll show the footage. They'll turn the camera down and let you see straight down the mountain. So what I'm getting to is they do the same thing that happens in the national park all the time. The biggest deaths, the majority of deaths in national parks are from influencers who have
social media, taking an Instagram picture.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And again, I don't know nothing about what happened to these people, but I am shocked that there are not far more accidents where people have fallen off of a mountain or had some crazy accident on a trail, because they ain't never looking at the road.
Yeah. I mean, the advantage, obviously, that they would have is that being a couple, there's two people, so one person can drive and one person can, if indeed there was.
I've seen that too. They be, and again, not them, but I've seen couples. They having a complete dialogue. I've seen people drive a trail and do a podcast. So I feel sorry for these people.
I'll take a hit for this a little bit. I mean, as somebody that is in that genre, and look, I have a combination of a background in overlanding and off-roading, depending on which vehicle I'm driving, and doing Instagram and YouTube and filming and whatnot. So I've been involved in some of the things that you said earlier, Phil. I mean, I try not to do some of that stuff, but I think we're all victim of occasionally doing things that you go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. You know what I'm saying? And it can happen. So, I mean, it's just something, if there's anything to be learned from I'm not going to say from their accident, but from the combination of the fact that their accident became such a newsworthy item, is that for people in our community to take note. And sadly, things can happen, and you got to be, and it's super sad to see somebody, particularly of their caliber of filming, and if people that have watched them, of their inspiration. I'm going to call them very inspirational, because I tell you, there's a lot of people I've talked to over this week that were heavily inspired to do the Pan American Highway because of them. So they're obviously hitting an audience, but unfortunately, none of us are. We'd like to believe we're Superman, but we're not.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, rest in peace to this couple. You mentioned that they got a lot of coverage, and well, if you've ever seen a picture of them or a video of them, you immediately know why. They are what do they call it, TV friendly, or
yeah. They're not for radio. They're not like us, Phil, on the podcast here. You guys, nobody's watching it. You better be listening.
Just hitting it right between the eyes. It's a good looking couple.
Yeah. So younger couple.
Media is going to be attracted to this story.
Yes, agreed. And
if we fall off a cliff, it'll be over tomorrow.
Right. Remember that time that you and I did we recorded our podcast on the cliff overlooking Mexican Hat there that time.
Oh yeah, that was a memorable moment for me. I loved that.
It sure was. But I mean, at any point there, we could have slipped, and that would have been it. Random waypoints would have been random mush at the bottom.
And we were somewhere that is actually noted for. There's only one thing that they warn you about when you're up there, and it's the wind.
That's right.
The wind can literally blow you the hell off of there, and you don't even have to be at the edge. Just be standing up.
Yep. So yeah, rest in peace, guys. Our best wishes go out to their families and friends, and those of you that have been inspired in the Overland community. Certainly a sad event this week.
So, Mike, I know there's a topic that you want to talk about. So there's a topic that I was not going to talk about.
Oh gosh.
And it's only because you stimulated it from what you said you wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Because I'll be honest, I tried to avoid this topic. It felt like one of those internet storms that would just, kind of blow away after a few days. It didn't seem like it was that big a deal to me, but here we are, and it's not going away.
Okay, what is it, Phil?
American Eagle's new Good Genes campaign with Sydney Sweeney is getting hit with accusations of white supremacy and eugenics-inspired imagery. The pushback comes despite the fact that the same campaign features diverse models. Still, people point to fashion's long history of pushing Eurocentric beauty standards while sidelining Black beauty, and they argue that certain visual cues carry deep, ugly historical baggage. Mike, is the backlash against Sydney Sweeney's ad a necessary check on subtle racist symbolism in media, or are we stretching so far that we're making every creative decision into a political fight?
Okay, Phil, that was the best segue that you've ever done, maybe not even on purpose, of a topic that I want to talk about today. And they're very, I was going to bring up Sydney Sweeney. I was going to bring this up in my other topic, but I'm going to answer your question. And I'm going to say probably the most controversial thing that I have ever said on this podcast. So if we get banned from all the platforms, and the next week we have no listeners, you're going to know why. I'm going to tell you what. This is more than my opinion. I think this is This is fact.
Oh boy.
This is being created. The hullabaloo about Sydney Sweeney and the American Jeans ad, as well as this other topic, and you guys out there in Listenerville probably know this by now, that I am a massive Taylor Swift fan. I'm a Swiftie, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But these are two things that are very related, because Taylor Swift, who last night was on the Travis Brothers podcast, New Heights, it's called, was the largest podcast viewership and listenership in the history of podcasts. Happened last night. I think they got 85 million views or something already. And the amount of negativity online, that was directed at Taylor Swift. And but by the way, she always gets lots of negativity, which is pretty interesting because she's probably the most popular person on planet Earth. But how does this relate to Sydney Sweeney? I'm going to tell you, this is not a racist thing, Phil. You know where all this bad shit comes from? This is being driven.
You got to bring it home to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm bringing it home right now.
Okay.
You know where all the negativity and all the complaining about both Sydney Sweeney and Taylor Swift, and by the way, I'm going to call it new feminism, but you know where it's coming from?
Please
ugly white women. This is driven by ugly white women. Look it up. If you go on,
I agree, but
I'm telling you, if you go on your social media feeds, you go on TikTok, the people that are bitching about the Sydney Sweeney ad are almost 100% white. They are what I would call new feminists, which, by the way, is a crock of living shit, because they're not feminists at all, because obviously they're excluding Sydney Sweeney. God forbid. She's too pretty. She's too funny. She's too successful. And by the way, this goes right along with Taylor Swift. There was comments last night while Taylor Swift was on her podcast saying that shame on Taylor Swift for releasing she's the most successful person in music, probably in history. She's a billionaire. She's a very intelligent human being. She's one of the best musical writers. And they're criticizing her. Listen to me. They're criticizing her.
Oh God!
For putting all this stuff out.
Wow.
While there's strife in Gaza, there's people starving. There's Trump in the White House. They're attacking her because she's not saying anything negative about Trump. They're attacking her because it's not getting involved in women's rights, about abortion and whatnot. They're attacking her because she's a successful musician. And last time, but who is doing this? Guys, get on your TikTok, get on your Instagram feed, get on your Facebook feed, and scan and all these. It's a bunch of ugly white women.
So let me bring you out your.
I feel very strongly about this,
and you're kind of right. But let me bring you out your bubble, Mike. You the salt, I'm the pepper, so I'm about to season this for you.
Okay.
I don't disagree with what you said. In America, the majority of the population are white people.
Yeah.
So,
fact.
Just on the strength of that, I agree that if you looked at the numbers, there may be, by numbers, a majority of women, white, not too pretty.
Dude, they're just jealous. Let's cut to the chase.
Right. But here's the thing. If you were a regular looker at social media of other colors of people, you would find that there's a significantly higher percentage of women of color who are having an issue with this. Far beyond. If you look at let's hold on, Mike, hold on. But where the part is that I agree with you is all of them are ugly. It's not a white ugly thing. Ugly women attack attractive women. Ugly women attract mediocre women if they're getting too much attention. It's not, I don't agree. I believe if we took a poll, the numbers would show it's more white women. But if we looked at it percentage wise, it would be a shockingly large amount of people of color versus white.
It's interesting you bring
drastically.
It's
different.
Interesting you bring up the percentage wise. I'll look at that more carefully. But I want but here's the thing: is there's a lot of very famous, and when I say famous, there's famous.
Okay, let me take you out your bubble.
White ugly women that are driving the narrative. Okay, so I would argue that the Sydney Sweeney thing.
You don't watch the other side of social. I'm telling you, you have a very whitewashed social media.
Well, hold on, but
I'm telling you.
But
it's a bigger issue outside of white America. I promise you that. By far,
I agree.
By far, it ain't even close.
It is now, Phil. But but within 10 seconds of the ad airing, the people that jumped on her first, I don't know.
Let me explain something to you. You've taught me a lot about social media. I'm about to teach you something.
Okay.
Pick any subject in the news. I don't care what it is.
Yep.
And you're excited about it, but you've already listened to like CNN, MSNBC, those guys. Now you want to hear some people throw in their little, you want to listen to maybe a podcast or somebody who always is talking about these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you go to YouTube and you search Taylor Swift podcast.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to scroll 15 pages before they even suggest a black person. So it gives off the impression to you that is this storm in the white. But since I seek out that other group of people and what they got to say, I get to see, oh, this is just something this is just a point that they want to hit, whereas this is a major issue. This is a cultural issue to a whole nother people.
So let's go back to the whole this feminine.
It's ugly women. It's ugly women. Hold on. It's feminism and it's gay women. I'm telling you what.
I'm going to go with that for a second, but let's go back to the let's go back to the basis of what we were saying is that if it's a new quote new feminism thing, I'm going to call it based in anger. Because there's a lot of
it's
anger.
A new feminism thing. I think it's different to this point.
See, no, I would argue that before feminism was focused on the female, okay, the female and how to improve feminine topics and female topics and whatnot. And now I think that's shifted where it's improve them as long as you are on our team.
It's always been that. It's always been that. Absolutely. You basically just need to study the beginnings and of feminism. Now I'm probably going to be the one that's canceled.
Oh God.
Okay, Mike. I want you to remember back to college.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And everybody listening, remember back to your college days.
Yep.
Because it happened everywhere. There are gay women on these campuses back then and to now. But back then, it was even fewer of them. And they had to hide it somewhat. Then you'd have some who were like, oh, no, I'm going to take these 4 years and I'm going to do things to propagate my lifestyle.
Yes.
And they couldn't do it alone. If they had just said, we want more rights, we want this, we want that, they'd have been like, take your, take that on, right?
Mm-hmm.
They needed straight women. So they basically have, since the beginning, they have basically used straight women for their agenda. That's what people, that's what nobody seems to want to say. It's a gay agenda. And they bring on women because when they talk about the things, it sounds favorable to them. It's just like with DEI. You have some black folks that really think DEI is great, but when you look at who it works for, it don't work for you. You got tricked into agreeing to this DEI that don't help you.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting to is it's always been a very militant, misandrist organization, culture, ideology since the very beginning. It has always been, and they tricked a bunch of straight women to join on because they were like, yeah, I want rights and I want but it was never about that. And as they have gained steam, if more of them gotten more degrees, as more of them have gotten into positions of power, as they've been able to infiltrate straight women's minds and get them to forget about traditional society and being a traditional woman, they've reached the point where they don't have to hide it no more, and they just overtly show their misandry toward mankind, matriarchy.
Okay, so all right. So let's go back to Sydney Sweeney and the Gene commercial. And I'm going to give it to you from my background in sort of the advertising marketing world.
I got a story for you too. Go for it.
I think I wish I designed that ad because it's genius in a sense, because I think that there's an element, obviously, look, the advertising people aren't stupid. They knew it was going to create controversy, and controversy creates success, basically, right?
Sometimes.
Well, bad news is good news. I think the more news is talked about it, the better.
Not when you're selling something.
I don't think they're having any problem selling it.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
So they got, I mean, obviously right now, Sydney Sweeney is hugely popular. And seems to be very Teflon based, meaning like these things don't seem to be affecting her. She's able to shift and turn and move, and so I think a lot of the anger was directed not so much at her, but at the writers, and suggesting, as you said at the top of the discussion, that it had elements of, but look, Phil, they've taken it to a level where they're talking about it's like Nazi Germany, and it's like, I mean, we're talking, it's a jeans commercial. I don't know. I don't see it. I think it's over the top. I saw a bunch of people, and in my case, it was ugly white women, but they were maybe I got the ugly white women feed on TikTok or something. Bitching and moaning about how bad this ad is. So to go to what you just said, most of the people that I saw complaining about the ad and suggesting that it had racial overtones and it was like reminiscent of Nazi Germany and et cetera, were not of color, were not LBGT. You know what I mean? They were brought on to fight the fight, if you will. So it's kind of maybe what you were saying earlier, where they've enlisted other things. I don't know. I mean, what is your thought on the ad?
So
to me, it's a gene ad.
Let me give you my ad agency story. Okay. You said you was into all of this, so you should be able to totally relate to what I'm about to say. So there used to be a company called Leo Burnett Worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
They've been bought by somebody, I don't know who, but back in the day, they were Leo Burnett Worldwide.
Yep.
Now, Leo Burnett Worldwide, I'm not going to get into how big they are. I'm going to just say pretty much every major brand name over the past 80 years, they were the person behind those ads. Okay. I never worked for them. It ain't had nothing to do with no ads. But I told you, I used to play ball back in the day in Chicago, Mike.
Yep.
Some guys from the health club from Leo Burnett paid me to ref their tournament.
Okay.
So I was in and out the building collecting checks, hanging out with guys, and then we'd go over to the gym sometimes and stuff. I literally sat in a table meeting at the beginning of how they're structuring an ad, just sitting there waiting for my buddies so we could go hoop. And what I learned was how intricate, how detailed it is. For example, I'll make something up because I don't want to use something actual. Let's say I'm doing an ad thing for Overland Expo and they want a name for a certain day of the event.
Yep.
They will literally run that name through translators, and maybe they don't even use translators. Back then they had translators who would read it and be like, "Oh no, that means this in Japanese. Oh no, that means whatever." Yep. They had psychologists who would read it and be like, "This infers this." Well, even though you mean this, a large group of community with that. They would dissect word for word, symbols, colors, the angle of things, everything. I've seen how it's done. It's broken, and there's no, when people say, "Oh, we just created this, we had this idea and we went with it," that doesn't happen.
Oh no, definitely not. Yeah, no.
So it's hard for me to believe that early on, before it ever was put out, that no one said, "Well, jeans might be an issue." Or whatever.
I'm sure they did, Phil.
Now, here's the thing. I don't care. I thought it was a cool, so just to get straight to it, I thought it was a cool ad. I like to play on words or whatever.
Play on words.
But the defense that people are given is, I think, naive and ignorant, because nothing goes on these screens without going through all kind of analytics. Through humans, through AI, everything. So, and I haven't just heard these kind of conversations about this. I hear this conversation about just about everything that pops up in the news all the time. Like, it's just some random guys in the office and they come up with an idea and they just go film it. That's not how it goes.
No.
So whether or not they meant it or not, maybe they didn't. But I don't believe that there wasn't a conversation about this may have certain overtones, and they may have said, "Well, we don't mean that, so F it." They may have been, I believe it was brought up.
Oh, I think it was brought up, and I think that they did it because they knew that you and I were going to talk about this on the podcast, and so is Joe Rogan, and so is everybody else. So it's done intentionally to create media.
So if you've done something intentionally with the idea of controversy and you have a knowledge of what buttons you're pushing, there you go.
Yeah, and I agree. It's just, I find it fascinating about the people that come out.
Commercial. I don't think they did anything wrong, but I ain't about to let them walk scot-free like they didn't know what they were doing.
Oh, I agree.
We all play with words.
Yes. Well, and particularly the fact that commercial was a play on words. So
that's what I'm saying.
The entire thing was a premise on play on words. So that more than anything, that they talked about that. Come on.
It's just like when I talk with you, Mike, all kind of slang and everything come out my mouth, and then you see me sit and talk with people, and I mastered the King's English. The point I'm making is you reach a certain level of intelligence and you know what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I don't like to play this game where people like, I didn't know. At a certain point, at a certain age, you're responsible for everything that comes out your mouth, and I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before. I mean, obviously words are power, right? Words have powerful results. And I think in this case, I do think that they sat around in a room, and yes, I do think they said, well, this could be discussed as a racial undertone, and this could be discussed as Nazi Germany, and this could be discussed as this, and they probably I'm sure they just talked about how ugly white girls were going to hate Sydney Sweeney, and it was all discussed.
And let's get onto something about this that is not being touched on because you don't know to touch on it. It's just that simple. So it's fashion has had a long track record of being very Eurocentric in its beauty standards.
Mm-hmm.
Partially subconsciously, the reason why you're like, these girls are ugly and she's so beautiful is because of the conditioning in your mind since you were born. There are men who favor a certain color of hair only because they've been conditioned to think that color of hair has more fun, and on and on and on. So you just can't. I don't let people play stupid with me.
No, and by the way, when we say ugly, we're not saying ugly. What we're doing
it's some ugly. Now don't bag. There was some ugly bras, Mike.
No, but what we're defining it as is what you just laid out. Society has established that as a collective. Society's your culture has established that is a definition of ugly. This is a definition of a Victoria's Secret model. That, like you said, that's been established over time by oftentimes exactly what you just described in the fashion industry. And think about it. The other thing that the fashion industry has been well known for has been controversial. They've always been controversial. Look at all these designers. Look at some of the fashion shows that you've watched back in the day that were like, they could walk out wearing like, fucking Christmas trees and shit. Like it was always like over the top, right? I mean, that's fashion. That's how you push fashion forward, I guess, right?
And can I address something else about the commercial? I have not heard one person yet say, matter of fact, I've heard them say the opposite. Have you ever just froze frame and looked at the jeans she's wearing? They look like some old woman jeans. I cannot believe
like old Lee jeans.
They look like mommy.
They're not super attractive.
Not at all.
No.
That's what's killing me.
Well, here's the funny thing is I don't even think Sydney Sweeney's that attractive. Okay, this is just my
number two. That was the second thing I was headed to.
Yeah, this is just my opinion. She's not, because she's not like a model, right? She
got big tits. That's it. Let's be real.
Yeah. And she's hot right now because of like White Lotus and for shows that she's been on. She's in the forefront of people's minds, right? So
other than Taylor Swift, Mike, give me 3 women that are actresses, singers, whatever in entertainment that you think are beautiful.
Are you dissing on Tay-Tay again?
No, but I know that's going to be one of your picks. So give me
no. So Taylor is
I don't think she should be in the top 10 or 20. Actually, I don't think she's not. Taylor's not a unattractive. I don't think she's unattractive. But I don't either. She ain't what everybody say she is, especially with them big bubbly lips.
I don't think Taylor Swift. I'm not accusing Taylor Swift of being the hottest chick on planet Earth. That's not my attraction to her.
Okay, I wasn't going at you about that. I just want you to give me 3 women that you think are attractive.
Oh, geez, there's a zillion of them out there.
Folks listening, Mike only has one woman in his heart, and it's Taylor Swift. He can't
can't get past it. No, I like Lady Gaga too, and she's not super attractive either. In a weird way, In a weird way, she's occasionally. It depends on what she's in. How she
got a body.
Yeah.
Her body offsets her face, but
yes,
for God, at least for other people.
Phil, we're getting thrown off Spotify. Holy fuck!
We have said all kind of stuff we ain't got no business. But
what I like. I like Jennifer Garner. She's like the girl next door to me.
But then she's still like she's a regular attractive girl.
Yes. Yeah. Back in the day,
when I'm asking you like who's beautiful, I mean, this is how I always judge a woman. Yep. If she was a random person just dressed average and she walked into a club, what would the majority of men think and feel about her? Now, Gardner, if she walked into a club and nobody knew who she was back in her heyday in her prime, she'd get a lot of attention.
Mm-hmm.
But she wouldn't be the finest chick in the club.
No, probably
she
not.
Wouldn't even be the top 5 finest. Go to Las Vegas, go to Miami right now.
Right. Just go to the beach. Just go to the beach in California. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
I don't think they typically pick the most attractive women or men in acting.
No, not in acting, and not in maybe like a commercial like American Jeans is doing. Victoria's Secret back in the day, I think their goal was to pick the most exquisite, beautiful women that they could find, oftentimes with weird, exotic looks. Right? I mean, that's what they were known for.
110%.
I
agree with that 110%.
What's her name?
There's a bunch of them.
Well, yeah. There's.
Are you talking about the famous girl? She was black.
Yes.
Did a lot of shows afterwards. I just can't think of her name right now.
I can't either. That's exactly what I'm thinking of, though.
She's dated some ball players.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Why can't I think of her name?
I don't know. We're struggling with names today. That's
so
just
Mike, can we talk about some serious stuff now?
Oh, this wasn't serious. Phil, Taylor Swift's coming out with a new album, Life of a Showgirl. Okay, it has, and I'm particularly impressed by this. I think I might have influenced her. The vinyl is orange, okay, and the whole thing is all about orange. And she describes on the podcast, you got to go watch the podcast, how orange is the color of energy, of excitement, of positivity. I was like, oh, this is great. Anyways,
so I just have to briefly talk to our are they radio listeners, our podcast listeners who don't see us, who don't know us,
right?
Or you're new and you don't know who Mike is. Mike is like extremely famous. I mean, like internationally famous for the color orange and orange trucks.
Orange, that's right.
So Taylor Swift mentioning anything positive about orange has him very excited, I'll just say.
That's right.
So, Mike, it's Friday. As we speak, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are meeting face-to-face in Alaska.
Yes.
There's a possibility that Zelensky will be there as a last-minute add-on. It's the first time they've sat down since Trump left office. And the buildup has been intense. European leaders have been scrambling all week, warning Vice President J.D. Vance that any peace talks, they must start with a ceasefire and include Ukraine directly. Mike, could this be the beginning of a true peace progress or process, or just another high-profile handshake with no follow-through? Because we've been here before when we had Zelensky, right?
I think it could be. I mean, I think what people have to realize is that throughout the course of history, somebody always has to win a war. I mean, that's just the reality. And in this case,
say that again.
I think somebody has to win a war at the end of the day, and that may be defined by history or by time. You might not know when it ends. I'll leave an example. Vietnam as an example. You could say that it never ended. Nobody won. Well, but look back now after a bunch of years. Vietnam, where it is in place. They won, right?
What we mostly wanted, we got. We wanted more military presence in the Pacific, and we got it.
Yes, exactly. So in the case of Ukraine and Russia, Zelensky has come out and said, "Look, I'm not going to give up any territory," and he's holding firm to that statement. That is, based on historical evidence, unrealistic from a sense that over the course of history, people have invaded other countries. At the end of the day, most of the time, they've ended up with the land that they took. That's just the way it works. Whether you're talking about America coming over here and taking it away from Native Americans, or you're talking about the Roman Empire conquering things, or the Mongolian Empire, or whatever. That doesn't mean they're going to keep it forever, but usually at the end of the takeover, they have it. So I think what Trump's going to do, and I think Trump knows that, Russia's not giving up, as an example, Crimea. They're not giving that up. They're not giving up part of the Donbass area. They're never going to do that. They're not going to. They got it. And quite frankly, most of the people that are in it are so used to being a part of Russia, and quite frankly, a lot of them want to be. That's just the way it's going to happen. So I think for this to become a deal, two things have to occur. One, there has to be a ceasefire, which I think that Trump can get him to agree to a ceasefire if, indeed, there's also an agreement on territory. At the end of the day, I think Putin walks away if you say, look, you get to keep all this land that you took here. War's over. Do I think it will hold? Yes. Do I think that Ukraine wants that to happen? No. Do I think Ukraine has a choice? No. Ukraine loses this war eventually.
No doubt.
No doubt.
Because in my mind's eye, Mike, I feel like this meeting that's going to occur today, or is happening today, is basically U.S.-Russia relations being reset for the future.
Yes. And
it has nothing to do with
it's happening
Ukraine.
In Alaska.
Ukraine is not like even if they're allowed to attend, they are not equal in that room. This is the U.S. and Russia discussing what we gonna do.
Yeah. And I think that's where Europe is missing the mark. The Europeans are coming out and talking about becoming a footnote in history and Ukraine and all this stuff. Well, that there's truth to that. This is a meeting of the United States and Russia. This really got nothing to do with Ukraine.
And that's why all of a sudden you've got all of these European countries that all of a sudden they found money to give NATO, because they're basically trying to group together as NATO against Russia and America.
That's right.
And one of their biggest issues, I follow history, Mike, so that's where my predictions come from. And that's why I'm thinking that this is basically them resetting their power structure between the two, Russia and U.S.
Yep.
Is because when was the last time we met with them? It was 2018 in Helsinki.
Yeah, wow. Yep.
It was in Helsinki. And the only reason I remember a meeting like that, because I don't remember none of these meetings, is because everybody was ragging on him about there's no preconditions to this meeting. There's no preconditions to this meeting. Here we are again, having a meeting, and they're complaining there's no preconditions to the meeting. Yeah. There's no preconditions to a meeting when you feel like you're talking to your equal, or you're talking to someone where you already have a general idea of what direction you both want to get to. So, Mike, President Donald Trump just gave the green light for direct U.S. military strikes on Mexico's most dangerous cartels. They even have gotten an agreement to get 26 of their biggest cartel people sent to America under extradition laws. A move that's already gotten Mexican President Claudia Sheinberg fuming. My question to you is, are we about to solve a crisis with the cartels, or start one we can't control?
So my opinion on this is that it's a lot of talk, no action. We're not going to militarily do anything in Mexico. And the reason I say that is because, first of all, the United States military is terrible, and has always been terrible at doing what I would call precision things like that. We know how to bomb things, But trying to successfully do that in Mexico, never going to happen. They're in like 5,000 different locations, hidden in caves and mountains, all over the place. Not going to happen. What is likely going to happen, if you read the headlines to this very, very carefully, is that this is not, and this is the word I get on the street down here in Mexico, that this is not actually directed at Mexico at all. This is more directed at Venezuela, because two of the cartels are Venezuelan based, right? Trandagua and the other one. And arguably, the difference between Mexico and Venezuela is that Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is, I'll call him, actively involved in the cartel, whereas the government in Mexico is not actively involved in the cartel per se the same way. So I think we want regime change in Venezuela. I am much more believing that we might take action in Venezuela at some point. Easier targets, right? Because we know how to hit military and government targets. We can do that all day long. Trying to hit little cartels, because remember, cartels have morphed more recently into they're more like logistics companies, right? So in the old days, they were making stuff, right? Now, when you're talking about fentanyl and whatever, they're assembling all legal pieces of ingredients and putting them together and then moving them. They're largely moving product. So they can operate in much smaller little clusters. They would be really hard to hit from the U.S. military. But Trump doing this effectively pushes the Sheinbaum government to turn over more and more leaders from the cartels to the Americans. So that's successful in itself. I don't think there's any chance that we're attacking Mexico.
So the first point where you were mentioning about the army, I mean, not the army, but the military not being real good at fine, detailed type of operations.
Yep.
I know what your sentiment is, but I just want to add, they're not allowed to be successful.
Right.
Because when they are given a job, they do the job. But oftentimes they're used as a pawn.
Yeah.
So
it's collateral damage.
There's so many times I can throughout history I can tell you stories of SEAL teams and just regular military being asked to do something, and we were behind it, and we really wanted them to win, and it went excellent. We have shot people in a little boat floating around, and we shot all of them in a boat all at one time. What is the captain? You know what I'm talking about?
In Somalia.
The Somalia guys.
Yeah.
You know how that happened, right? How deep. So when they want to, they can get stuff done. It's whether or not the bureaucrats really have a plan for them to succeed.
Yeah.
So that was my first thing. The second thing is, you mentioned about Venezuela and a couple of other people and how their leaders are in cahoots with the cartels.
Yes.
Well, oh my God, I don't think that there's anywhere in South America, Central America, Mexico, or anywhere where the leaders are not in cahoots with the cartel. I don't know this for a fact, but I would, just from everything that I know about the drug game in Mexico, I find it hard to believe that the current president could exist in her office unless she had a direct line to at least one person in the cartel.
I don't disagree. The difference, though, in Venezuela is that he is, for all practical purposes, the leader of the cartel himself. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I agree.
So the government there is really controls the cartel, as opposed to a sort of a symbiotic relationship in these other countries where they coexist.
Yeah, see, I see that as a weakness.
You mean in Venezuela?
Wherever you deal in drugs, for you to actually be the president of that country and you the dope dealer.
Well, yeah, I mean, but Venezuela, look, we want regime change there. Think of it; they largely have a dictatorship that's not super popular with their own citizens. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of problems in that country, and now it's been affecting other countries around it, including Colombia and Ecuador and various other, even in Central America. So we have a vested interest in, it's actually surprising that Venezuela hasn't collapsed after what's his name died, and Maduro is able to stay in power all these years. It's almost surprising because he's not super popular, and they largely are. They're very anti-American. They're very isolated at this point. So I can see us using that military authorization to do something in Venezuela, because I don't think there's going to be anybody that argues with that. We can't be dropping bombs in Mexico. That will not fly.
Mike, am I allowed to at least have one conspiracy?
Sure.
Today?
Is this about going to the moon or no?
No. So this is actually a continuation of something. I've been trying to paint a picture to you for a couple of months now, and I'm trying to pull you across the fence to see what I think I'm seeing. So there's been 3 high-profile attacks, all within weeks, to Morris supposedly after the NFL, but he went to the Blackstone headquarters, an alleged Wall Street predator that swallows companies whole. Then in Atlanta, we had a man walk up to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and opens fire reportedly blaming the COVID-19 vaccine for making him sick. The day of, because I watched it, the Atlanta mayor, Andre Dickens, admits the shooter had interests he can't reiterate right now. And before that, we had Luigi Mangione accused of killing United Healthcare's CEO, a corporate giant that profits from our illness. Where I'm going with this, Mike, is every time the heat is shifted off the institution and onto a safer, cleaner narrative. Like, it hasn't been a week yet for the guy who shot the people at the CDC, and it went out the news the next day. You haven't seen news about that.
Dropped right off. Yeah, totally off.
That's the type of story that they prolong all the way through court and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mike, is this just a coincidence, or have I finally convinced you there is a protocol in effect to protect the most powerful institutions in America?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've convinced me to go conspiracy theory, but I mean, there's definitely interests, particularly from elected officials, to protect institutions in America. I mean, how do you think they get elected?
Oh, I agree.
I mean, think about it that way. So, I could argue that, look, they flip-flop so many times. Yeah. I mean, is it possible? Sure. I mean, look at Washington, D.C. right now. The mayor of Washington, D.C. has flipped around so many times. She's against Trump. She's for Trump. She likes Trump. She hates Trump. Taking over Washington. You got like the federally taking over Washington, D.C. police force going on. There's more to that story than you're talking about too.
Well, I think right now, as of today in our society, these are all separate entities that have committed these crimes that I related to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a momentum that's going on. And what happens is when people find out that there's someone like them, whether it's someone like them and that trait is something good or bad, they are attracted to it. People want to be around someone like them. And as more of these one-offs happen, you're going to start, I believe there's going to be groups that get together and plan more strategic things and bigger things.
I agree.
That's what I see. And I saw this coming. I saw these coming from the moment that first CEO with Luigi Mangione. When that first one, I saw what was happening. And that's why I'm like, every week, I'm like, giving you the next one, giving you the next one. There's going to be a next one. The next one, they might not even report it. You may have to just find it somewhere on the little ticker that goes at the bottom of CNN or something like that.
Exactly.
I'm serious. Yeah. The next, but I'm looking for it, so I'll find it. And I'm going to bring it up. I think that I'm onto something. I'm looking like a silly conspiracist right now, but as time goes on, the facts are falling in line with my thought process. And I think at the end of my life, I'll hear some kind of report or I'll see some kind of documentary where they're going to come back and say, we had this issue back in the 2025, and this is what we did. I believe that strongly.
All right. Let's stay tuned, because that's another reason for you watching and listening to us on Fridays, because Phil's going to bring you the real news.
So here's our last topic, Mike.
Okay, last topic.
Now, we've all seen the headlines. ICE raids a factory. ICE raids a warehouse, and hundreds of undocumented workers are taken into custody. But here's what rarely makes the news. The American companies hiring them. Most of the time, they don't even tell you what's the name of the business that they took all these undocumented people from. These are businesses, they're operating openly, often knowingly hiring people without legal status. Yet, after the workers are gone, the owners face little to no punishment whatsoever. Why is the focus always on employees and never the employers? Mike, why do you think the enforcement spotlight is almost always on the workers, not the companies breaking the law by hiring them?
And the irony, if you look at it, because the very people that are so against this ICE raids and all this stuff are the left-wing progressives who supposedly hate the wealthy business owners, yet there's no focus on that. There's no blame. All they're talking about is ICE. Which
but this ain't left or right, Mike.
I understand.
Neither side is talking about the companies. There's not even like one senator, that's going against the grain and saying, why are we doing this?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Step. They're 100%.
It's a great question. I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know why. There's never a commentary about why this particular business had 75% of their workers were illegal. And I don't know.
All of these things that we keep talking about, this would solve it. It would deter illegals from hiring and remove the job magnet of coming here. If they know they come here and they ain't gonna be able to get a job, they ain't gonna come no more. That would be the solution right there. We wouldn't have to do nothing but just do what we're supposed to. It would level the playing field for law-abiding businesses. There are some businesses that they follow the law; they ain't doing that.
Right.
But their costs
is higher,
much higher.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of jobs where the most significant cost that you have is labor.
Well,
and
I think it goes back.
It's generally the jobs they do.
I think this goes back to the same thing. I don't think the politicians want to touch the businesses. Like, that's who elects them.
Oh, I know. This is almost a rhetorical question I asked you.
Yep.
Every time ICE raids a work site, we watch the workers in cubs, but the executives who sign the paychecks, they don't even mention their names. They don't even.
No, they don't even really mention the companies.
That's what I'm saying. They don't mention none of that side of the fence. They don't mention it at all. It's like taboo. Because usually, even when there's something where the majority of them pick a side, there's always this young new senator or congressman that's going against the grain. None of that. There ain't no static about this.
From either side.
And they're not even asked about it about the journalists. I haven't heard a journalist yet say, why aren't they doing this? They may say it like in a commentary, but when they're interviewing somebody who can actually make the change, they don't bring that shit up ever.
Nope. I haven't heard any either.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.